Hello everyone, welcome to Vidyamitra Talks. The objective of this podcast is to help people who are aspiring entrepreneurs and professionals to understand what entrepreneurship means and how an entrepreneur survives through this journey. It goes beyond the textbook and theories, gives real life exposures and experiences from people who have walked the talk. Today we have with us a visionary health leader who have got 25 years transforming pharma, branding and wellness. Honored with a doctorate of excellence from Young Scientist University, USA, she is a founder of SUNANDI Holistic Elder Care, Well-being Wellness brand and IIMF Integrative Medicine. From consulting giants like Fortis and Aster to pioneering social projects with Ayush and Rotary, this personality blends modern science with Reiki, yoga and EFT to empower thousands of people. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Rupa Lakshmi. As she shares in this podcast, lot of insights on holistic elder care, integrative health, which is the talk of the town. Just like what we are discussing on AI India Summit, the next biggest talk even in AI space is healthcare. So here we have got a personality who have taken 25 years to understand, to decode, to demystify this space of elder care and healthcare. Welcome Rupa ji.
Namaskar, Vinod. Nice to be on your podcast.
Lovely. When I was reading through your profile, lot of curiosity is there because everybody, including my own personal family, the youngest person in my family is right now 45 years. That is a reality. There is a huge bracket of people who are around 79 to 94. And the more saddest point, all their kids are abroad. Now, a person like you doing such wonderful works, can you just tell me what was that motivation for Rupa Lakshmi to move out from this glamorous corporate space and get into elder care, which is a beautiful journey, but क्यों किया आपने? क्या था आपके मन में?
Right. No, thanks for asking this. In fact, Sunandi Elder Care journey has been just a 3-year journey now. Although as a healthcare entrepreneur, I've been in this journey for the last 13 years. Coming from the pharma and hospital background, more so from the product management and branding background, I had an opportunity to browse through the whole system, the pharmaceuticals and its connection with the hospitals and healthcare, handing the products to service industry. There were a whole lot of opportunities I had in this 25 years, including consultancy as an outside consultant, as a brand consultant, where I had an opportunity to work. So basically, with my exposure to both the Western side of medicine from the pharmaceuticals and hospital, and plus where I worked for almost 7 years with Ayurveda pharmaceuticals, I had an exposure to the Eastern system of medicine way back, in 90s. So that experience with a very limited, knowledge, I would say, coming from the pharmacy background as a graduate in pharmacy, where we study how the molecules or how the chemicals work in your body, to understanding the approach of Ayurveda, which is very different from the whole approach of how the West looks at the medicine. It was very interesting it was very interesting to understand or to realize while I was at the hospital that how these patients in the hospital for any ailment could be treated better if these strengths of both the system can come together. While this was running in my mind, as a consultant, when I started working with various organizations, various hospitals, this instinct very strongly started percolating down, saying that there has to be some way where we can have these doctors to work functionally together, even though the approach and philosophy are very different. And that's how my first entrepreneur journey in 2013 started with Auresia Wellness Private Limited, with a pilot of integrating everything under one roof. So mind, body, spirit, that was the whole approach. And with a clinic, an integrated clinic, when we started, it was quite, I think we were ahead of time in our country. A lot of people wouldn't get it, including the professionals. The health professionals were not very much in line with this thought, just the thought of one medical disciplinary working with the other medical disciplinary. They were so we it was I would say it was a 4 to 5 years journey and R&D work of working with different experiences of doctors, largely physicians at from Allopathy and Ayurveda and Naturopathy. And yes, thanks to COVID, which created more challenging situations for us. And that was when probably even the public and the population started understanding the goodness of the Eastern system of medicine. So whether it was Ayurveda, naturopathy, or energy healing, there are so many healing methods. So all these started getting better exposed while people had to be treated at home, and home services, home consultation began. And that was our first experience working with elders. And so post COVID, we thought integrative medicine approach for elders would be a very good way of beginning our residential place or an inpatient setup. And that's how Sunandi was born in 23. And we have two centers today. And at Sunandi, same integrated approach which we began in 2013, we started adopting on elders. So at an elderly age of, say, in their 70s or 80s, through integrative medicine, that means you're just bringing the strengths of both the system. What is too harsh from the Western system, say medication long term on the body on of an elderly person, you sort of bring that down by working at the root cause with the Ayurveda therapies. Ayurveda, see, it's not just the medication. In Ayurveda, we have many other options of non-invasive therapies. There are about 100 plus therapies which can be done on the physiology of the body for the corrections within the physiology of the body. And that's a beautiful concept in Ayurveda. A lot of Ayurveda practitioners just practice only medicine. That's how maybe a lot of people are not aware of the strengths of the therapies. So we brought in, and we could bring that inside a residential setup of elderly. And obviously mind space, the attention for elderly is what is lacking today. It is not just the treatment. And being an emotional freedom therapist, every problem in us begins at an emotional level first. And when we start addressing the emotions of a person or a spirit of a person, lot of ailment can be handled better. So that's how elderly care began through an integrative approach, where we were able to differentiate ourselves and position ourselves not as an old age home, not as a geriatric, not like a hospital, but something in between, where elders are treated in a homely atmosphere with a lot of mental attention given to them. Yes.
Superb, superb.
And it has been fantastic now. In the last 3 years, we must have treated almost about 300 elders. We provide treatment option for elders to come get treated and go back, or if they have to stay for, when their loved ones are not near, for them to stay back, with us till their last stage. Both the options we are offering at Sunandi.
Beautiful. Hats off. One, to the mindset. Second, the conviction and the courage to take it up, because the world needs more Rupa Lakshmis, to be very honest. From Rupa Lakshmi's long journey, you have worked with Pharma, being a consultant, which means you are able to understand the branding and the larger dimensions of it. According to you, what could be that one or two areas which modern medicine, the so-called the West, seem to be lacking?
I think, Vinod, more than what is lacking, I think some of the gray areas of the modern medicine is what the Eastern medicine can fill up. I mean, simple thing is more in the allopath, most of it we are focusing on quick relief and symptomatic relief, which is also very important in today's fast world. At the same time, when we say the Eastern medicine works at the root cause, some of them might take some time, but when you're addressing the root cause, it's like this. You have a crying baby, and the baby has to be stopped. And the approach of by parents on a crying baby are two ways. One is uh, scaring the child, okay, and where the child is scared and he keeps quiet. And second is resolving it by addressing what the problem is. So both, if you look at, the second might take little time and little patience, but the child doesn't get suppressed with what he wants. And in both the cases, you see there is a relaxation in the child's I mean, the child will stop crying. The end result in both the approach is to stop the child crying. Similarly, both provides the end result could be the same, but the only way in allopathy is you many times suppress in the name of providing symptomatic relief, and often we miss out, focusing on the root cause. Whereas, so what we do in integrative is we don't substitute allopath, or allopath is not a substitute for Ayurveda. Depending on the ailment and depending on the stage of the ailment, both are titrated at a different level, and that understanding has to be brought only when the doctors work functionally together without crossing the line. That means allopath is not crossing his line by adopting himself to do something what Ayurveda guys are doing, or the Ayurveda physician will not cross by prescribing something of allopath, but they will have an understanding, and it which complements the ailment or the final outcome. So now this requires a very scientific approach and understanding of both the minds at the professional level first, at the doctor's level, and then they can focus, and only when both of them appreciate that we can prevent the further progression of a problem, or we can mitigate the risk factor, or we can titrate the medication. And with an allopath doctor having that mentality or being open that yes, I will titrate if the body is able to recover on its own. So you help me with something where and show me what, when the body has to, I mean, when the body recovers on its own, and then I'm ready to bring down the medication. Now once that understanding happens, then they come and get to a protocol, saying, okay, for so and so ailment, in whether it's a moderate level or initial stage of some problem, what kind of integration has to happen is what they arrive at. So here, when you ask me what of allopath, a lot of good things about allopath is, yes, immediate symptomatic relief, the way the documentations are done, the way presentation is done, it's quite simple for a common man to understand. That way, when it comes to Ayurveda, its own approach, it's very, very complex and deeper than allopath. But and a common man may not be able to understand. So the PR and the documentation to align to the modern medicine, to align to the modern mind, is where Ayurveda also has to work on. Now, when they work together, this exchange of skill set also happens. So not only from the approach point of view, not only from the core philosophy point of view, but also in a lot of other skills, they start complementing each other. And when allopath is able to appreciate what and how an Ayurveda person thinks and his approaches, and when he talks, the belief of Ayurveda increases. At the same time, an Ayurveda person is not bad mouthing an allopath doctor for his approach, and appreciate why his intervention or her intervention is required at a particular stage, then the belief of both enhances. That's how you need a platform. So in fact, elder care, in elder care, we were able to create this platform where the doctors can work together on a patient or on an elderly person.
Superb,
Yes.
superb. I was very curious in listening to your entire conversation because Rupa, as a personality, has studied B.Pharm in the UG, which means it's all about molecule, biochemistry, and things. And I'm sure there will be something probably as our own indigenous philosophy and a lot of people, because Ayurveda Shushruta has given a beautiful write-up on the entire allopathy modern treatments even those days. So रूपा जी के अंदर क्या राज था? What was that inner spirit to identify? अरे मुझे, I don't want to get into the biochemistry and become another biocon, but let me move on to a wellness space. What was that trigger? Is it family push or is it self-driven or husband? क्या था?
Probably, maybe the wiring was a little different, I would say, to begin with. Even after doing my pharmacy, during internship, I was asked to work in a manufacturing unit. That was the time where I was very clear that I do not want to work in a factory within. But I wasn't sure what is that I wanted to do at that stage. So the exploring has been right from the beginning. And during when I joined the pharma industry, in my break, obviously being corporate, it was 5 days working. So Saturday, Sunday used to be off. I used to always go for a lot of, courses, energy medicine course those days, meditations and acupuncture course and various kinds of meditation. Those days, spiritual gurus or some of the Western guys would take some, breath working sessions and meditate. So some 20 plus odd meditation classes I used to, and my friends would ask me, what is that during these breaks you go for these meditation classes while we are kind of, there are so many other options. So I used to always wonder why am I interested in these things. But little later, after working in a hospital scenario, even though I was handling branding, my role in a hospital was to understand from the doctors what they were doing. I mean, obviously, to promote it, in during in the PR or in the outdoor media or even in the television medium. The briefing had to the account managers of ad agency had to be very colloquial in the sense, why some USPs of the doctors. Let's say somebody is very good in a surgery or somebody is very good in some work of his doctor as a doctor. So we had to understand in depth on a particular surgery or a particular service before we had to zero down on what has to be promoted. So there was, I mean, even while doing my B.Pharm, pharmacology was my favorite subject, not anything else. And when I was very young, my aunt being a doctor, I always wanted to become a doctor. Uh, so when in during the exposure in the hospital, what happened was my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. Yeah, that was in 2007. Now, in the journey and with the exposure of Ayurveda and energy medicine, although I wasn't sure what could be done, it was quite an unexpected situation. Although I wasn't very clear what had to be done, I was very clear that chemo and radiation probably are not the only solution, but there was no alternate. So what I did then was, although she had to undergo chemo and radiation, my bit of an energy medicine and taking few courses on nutrition, I mean cancer nutrition and other things, I tried treating her at home with the alternate things while she was undergoing chemo. And what happened because of that, with 8 chemo, she was brought down to just 4 chemo, and radiation was avoided because every time in the cycle she was recovering faster. Now that gave a lot of confidence, and obviously I had worked on her mind, and there were a lot of exercise which generally doctors were not so closely following up. So there were a lot of things which I did on her, and she survived for almost about 16 years after that, with a great lifestyle after that. So now that was one trigger, that how do you handle? I mean, there was a goodness of both. It was not that she was avoided with chemo, but yes, chemo was titrated down. Now that was one stimulant to start looking at this. And obviously, being in the hospital, I used to very strongly feel that every person who was coming for treatment had to be counseled, had to be handled at an emotional level, for even where it would even help them recover faster post surgical. But then there were very limited, what do you call, resources to do that within the hospital. So that was the second, kick on how do you make these things better. So if you ask me, it was almost like, how medicine can be practiced better was something which I started thinking from a health professional's point of view. If every health professional can focus completely on just the service and completely on how um, safe and sustainable health they can provide to a person, then no medical disciplinary will become a limitation for a doctor to think about. The doctor will always be very open to learn more and more to make it more safer and safer. Unfortunately, that's not been the approach, and the medical disciplinary has been the focus. From which background I come from. I'm a homeopathy. Homeopathy is better than Ayurveda. Ayurveda is better than naturopathy, or allopathy is the best. These kind of judgment has always sort of created a distorted perception among the people. Yes.
Okay, now when I hear from Rupa's journey of what is there inside the pharma, and then from a branding point of view also, we have seen and you have visualized, your attention to detail was explicitly mentioned, which made you curious to say, okay, what better we can do in this value chain. Now what I am doubtful for myself, when I see the Instagram and social medias, lot of people themselves are telling lot of ideas. Eat guava, you will become like this. Put potato in your face, you will become Korean skin. I don't know whether it is right, wrong. So being a professional, plus you have been in this space for alternative medicine, what would be your simplest advice for managing the most commonly heard word, lifestyle issues or lifestyle disease? So from what is that? How can we address?
Right. No, definitely, this is not just a concern at an individual level, but if you look at NCDs, what we call scientifically, technically, non-communicable diseases, which are induced because of the lifestyle. And you're very right. The statistics of lifestyle diseases are increasing. If you look at, in spite of so many options and opportunities people have, and with so many hospitals coming up, mushrooming all over the place from 20, 25 years ago, if you look at, there used to be only dispensaries. But today, you have multi-speciality brands and multi-speciality chain of hospitals across, not just in the metros, but also tier 1 and tier 2 towns. So if you look at this, in spite of development in the healthcare, in spite of technology we've induced so much of technology in the healthcare. In spite of it, the statistics of lifestyle diseases are not decreasing; it is only increasing. Almost 60 to 70% of the deaths today are caused because of lifestyle diseases. And if you look at the entire approach in our conventional approach, we are only prolonging the disease. We are postponing the risk, while we are not addressing the root cause. So coming to that, obviously, some of our old practice, and colloquially, a lot of people are talking about, have this, or have, take something, is not all the time wrong, but most of the time, these are some borrowed information. So, which makes it a concern for a common man to just go by that. So, one of the things what we're doing through our foundation is actually to reinvent a lot of things what was already told, but create again an evidence create proof and then reiterating that to a common man. And I also feel as an institution or as an organization, we have to make those effort of talking about even the old solutions, which are time tested, say from one medical disciplinary's point of view. If we are bringing that back to the modern world, you may have to reiterate or revalidate that to communicate to people for people so that people can believe from certain sources, and start following, because today there are a lot of quackery, there are a lot of non-qualified people talking about it, so that becomes scary enough. And also there are two schools of thoughts, in one or two instances you must have used something, it is good for you, and it's not necessary it holds good for somebody else. So that is so while these things are as risky, today WhatsApp solutions are so high, so equally not all of it are validated. But if you look at our ancestors, none of them went to some institutions like what is in today, and there were no too many multi-speciality hospitals. There was, we call it niyama, or there used to be certain discipline every family would follow. During winter, these are the things to follow, or these are the things not to follow. During summer, you're supposed to do this. When you travel, carry so and so. Maybe simple usage of frequent use administration of tender coconut while you travel. Or in Kerala you see those, they follow that pink water which they carry. They use certain types of roots, which is pinkish, and making the water alkaline and taking. And so basically, there used to be such discipline of keeping your body into an alkaline mode all the time. They wouldn't call it an alkaline, or avoiding acidosis and things like that. But lot of things were done as a way of life, not necessarily taught by a Vaidya or a doctor, but as a way of life. In implementing that in your food habits, implementing that in your seasonal rituals and things like that. So they obviously are time tested, and but they would call it as, okay, this is supposed to be done. So my grandfather was saying this, so I am doing this, and so you follow it. So I would say, some of them are not wrong at all. It could be the way you certain recipes were done, especially in the South Indian recipes. Simple thing like the putting tadka, where you have the asafoetida. I mean, you take food, but it has to be digested well. See, in Ayurveda, a lot or everything is focused on how the digestion is improved, or are you enhancing the digestion, because if the digestion is good and all other parts are good. So from those point of view, yes, a lot of things are right and a lot of things are wrong, I would say. And everything doesn't require some sort of evidence. A lot of age old methods can be followed blindly. But yes, the iterations of that is dangerous, or for a common man it's very difficult to understand. And from that point of view, maybe going and getting what you call reevaluated from an expert is important. That there, going back to an Ayurveda doctor or a naturopathy doctor and understanding it makes more sense, rather than going and asking an allopathy doctor that, can I have this food, my Ayurveda doctor told me not to have curds or something, and getting it validated from allopathy. Because from an allopathy point of view, doctors don't go from the nature's approach at all. It's always lab approach, I would say, because all our chemicals are manufactured in the lab, not in nature. So it's very contrast from an allopath practitioner's point of view. So we, as a common man, we should know whom should we go and ask what. As long as that ignorance is not there, I think life is good.
I appreciate the knowledge of to whom I should ask. What? That's a beautiful punchline. Now, what we are hearing, especially the Gen Zs, Everybody are telling I am getting tired, after half a kilometer, I need rest. My body is not supporting. But, when we compare, their mom or grandmother is more active. I think world they are using gut cleaning. Say if the gut is proper, 99.9% of your health is perfect. So three or four age old ancient wisdom tips to take care of guts.
Yeah, in fact, not being a clinician, I will not be the right person to tell you. But what I've heard from my doctors, I mean, lucky to have to be all the time between a naturopathy doctor who talks about a lifestyle modification, Ayurveda doctor who goes deep into the body's philosophy of how Ayurveda looks at, an allopath doctor who tells do's and don'ts very frequently. Uh, See, if you look at the gut health. Is not modern. I mean, of course, today modern medicine is talking about it, but in Ayurveda, gut health was the only approach. Every approach in Ayurveda is through the gut. Even if there is an issue starting from your migraine to some serious neurological issue, the approach in Ayurveda is always correcting the gut. If you actually go to any Ayurveda specialist or a Ayurveda therapy center, or even naturopathy therapy center, whether you have gone there just for your uh, for your basic stress to even cancer treatment, they start with something called panchakarma, detoxing your body. And detoxing your body, there are various methods, but the basic detoxing is detoxing your gut. So gut cleansing, or treating the gut is the basis in Ayurveda, which is 5,000 year old. But of course, today modern medicine, in fact, today Westerners have seen the value of Ayurveda, and there is something called functional medicine which is introduced, which is sort of a approach coming from Ayurveda. It may not be called so, but yes, taking natural medicines or doing certain natural things are the way which the functional medicine is talking about. Coming back to the gut health is not very new, it is very ancient from an Ayurveda point of view. So, few tips what we can consider for all the youth today, or for all of us rather, is keeping your body alkaline all the time. Because with the kind of stress what we undergo, because even emotionally, when we are very stressed, body gets into becomes acidic. And when the body is acidic, it is very vulnerable for anything, let's say vulnerable for infection, or vulnerable for any bacteria or viral attack on the body, or any organ to go down, because your immunity comes down basically. So when your body is kept alkaline all the time, your immunity is better. That's one thing. So how do you keep it alkaline? Because today even water what we get is not all the time alkaline, because they are treated generally with chemical. So you have a lot of solutions to keep your drinking water alkaline. Why water to be alkaline? Largely because your 70 to 70% plus body component is water. And of course, moving into organic, okay, reducing the chemically treated products. It could be basic provision as much as possible. Whatever is natural, however you get in the nature, as it is, you consuming it is more appropriate than processing it. So anything which is processed is not good. So there's something which we can be aware of. Too much cooked or too much processed or too much heat process is not good. So among the ingredients, whatever we have, how many of those ingredients we are taking as it is without being processed is something which we need to look at. Most of the things are processed, and then the second question is, okay, what kind of processing is utilized? For us, that becomes a little technical, because that sort of gets influenced by the food industry talking a lot of things. But I think water and milk and your consumption of vegetables being very high, I think it's basic things we have to look at. And one thing more than the consumptions, I would suggest, I mean, being an energy medicine practitioner, keeping yourself calm, whatever it takes, whatever discipline you need to follow to keep yourself calm. Now, when you say stress, stress is only a definition based on how much you're getting, allowing yourself to get impacted. It could be the same problem you and me are facing, but how much I'm allowing myself to get impacted, how much you're allowing the same problem to get impacted is where the stress definition varies. So, how will I make myself conducive not to get impacted with the stressful situations around? Is something what one has to constantly work on. Today, for those kind of anxiety or depression or because I'm getting impacted with something, allowing myself to take a pill for it is not a good idea at all. You have to work on yourself so that your physiology can be worked at a level where you can afford not to get impacted. I think that has to be followed. In fact, every school, if it can introduce meditation as a habit, maybe from the primary school, will be a great idea because as an adult, somebody can just follow it as a way of life. Yes.
That's a great message. Just remain calm. It's in your control how much to allow. What is external, how are you taking it internal makes a lot of difference. So very valuable tip, and I think especially whenever we scroll through social media, very sad. A student who has qualified in IIT, who have got Ivy League institutes, either taking his life away or moving into a stress zone. Very sad, very sad. But your message is very solid, and it's up to us how to sustain it because it's a filter, and that filter is God's gifted.
That's right.
Now, the last question from my side is uh, you have gone through a beautiful journey, definitely lots of challenges, lots of hurdles. It's part of life. Anybody who is curious to come into this integrated medicine or that concept of what Sunanda does, what would be your advice? It can be a B.Pharm student or a psychology student who is more interested in Indic and he is having a graduation, but he is interested in Indic. What would be Rupa's broad advice?
People coming from a scientific background, qualified people, if he's a practitioner, yes, he can be very open to work with the other medical disciplinaries and start looking at different dimension of treating a patient. That itself. So I'm actually through foundation, we are creating a movement of like-minded doctors and professionals to come together, exploring to how we can make a difference and really influence the industry for more and more practitioners towards the safe and sustainable health, which needs a lot of change in the mindset, a lot of exposure to what they can do more than what they're doing right now, and creating opportunities for everybody. In fact, today, if you look at an Ayurveda practitioner, he's not patriotic about his medical disciplinary at all, based on the kind of support what he's been getting, probably from the government and from the society and all that. And everybody has become a bread earner. So most of the Ayurveda practitioners invariably are going towards the allopath system or allopath industry to win his bread and butter, which has to be discouraged. But you can discourage him to do that only when we create more and more opportunities for Ayurveda practitioners to do much better. Like a super specialty hospital, more and more Ayurveda institutions and organization could be encouraged, and that is something which we are also focusing through our foundation, IIMF. IIMF stands for Institute of Integrative Medicine Foundation. And coming to the non-clinical clinicians, say pharmacy students, people who have done their post graduation or even doctorate in pharmacy or any scientific background, most of them get inside an R&D, which is a lab and synthesis and chemical. More and more exploring of what were the older methodologies and what were the older systems, and bringing it back on how we can adapt that in the modern world, because a lot of things what have been preached in Ayurveda, practically a lot of things cannot be done in today's modern life with a modern mindset. So it probably has to be tweaked without losing the value of what it is, but making it more convenient and compliant. Of course, it comes with certain limitations, but still you can make a difference. But in that line, exploring has been very limited compared to people getting in, scientists going into conventional system. So those kind of labs and research centers have to be open, and that is something which we are working towards. And more people who can really encourage our foundation and help us, to work towards this would be a great idea. And when more number of people like-minded people come together, it can be created like movement, because one will only aspire when he experiences the difference. As a professional or as a clinician, if somebody experienced something different from what he was seeing all the while he was treating himself with a different dimension of approach, then he can jump to a different level of thinking of what one can do. In fact, one thing I would like to reiterate, say 80% of the problem a common physician can take care of. But today, um, because of specialists increasing, the opportunities are more for super specialists but not a physician, because most of the hospitals are super specialist driven hospital. So physician himself is not able to, I mean, he is only right now, because of the other facilities, only 20% of the things is what the problems are what he is handling. If he can be encouraged, integrative medicine will help, because there are other medical disciplines which will help him. So he can start increasing the zone of his treatment. All this we can achieve together, if people can start thinking about safe and sustainable solution. Every service provider, if the service provider thinks about what is that safe and sustainable solution I can provide, let's say a fertility clinic will start thinking about it, or a super specialty hospital too will start thinking about it. We can embrace the other medical discipline and start doing things. Yes.
I think that's something, the Sarvam AI dialogue, where India's GPT for the world, which is being discussed, and that let it be that Sarvam AI model for integrated medicine. I'm sure a lot of people are very much positive in this ecosystem. One, there are lots of nuances where people have experienced or people have felt a lot of gaps which could have been treated by just by accepting what is good in the other field. Even medical doctors to a great extent have a lot of mind shift. Even the ortho doctors are telling take pranayama because it's something very good for health. Breathing exercise should not be compromised. So a lot of mind shift has happened. More people should join Sunanda movement, and let's all embrace it for a very beautiful 2047. Very thankful to Rupaji for accepting our request, coming on live and then sharing your thoughts. We wish more and more opportunities come, more investors come, government support come, and let it become a holistic objective. Because at the end of the day, body, mind, intellect, if it's aligned, I think the universe is superb. Yes. Any closing thoughts you have? Feel free to share.
I think should start looking at sustainability. Obviously, we are talking about sustainability in all other industry, but we're not talking about our own self sustainability, mind and body. So alignment of our mind, body, and spirit is very important. I think every individual should not be ignorant about it. The intelligence should be utilized to know your own body and mind better than outwardly. We are always judging the outside things, but let us start becoming very judgmental about our own self, body, mind, and spirit.
Lovely talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Namaste. Thanks.